Hey, everybody. Hey, welcome back to the 53206 cast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Meg.
And this is a podcast. It's a podcast specifically designed to help us engage in the process of rethinking our inner city spaces. Meg.
Yeah.
You've been busy getting the plants ready.
You know. I was just telling you I had a conversation with a colleague who's also a big gardener, and he was telling me I'm planting all the stuff too early, and I was like, I know, but I'm so excited. I'm like, even if two of them like make it, it's great. So
I mean, if you plant it, I know nothing about the plants, but if you plant stuff early, isn't it just bigger?
it can get leggy. So like it can
Is
be
that bad?
Yeah, it can be like weak and then like not do well. So
okay.
So like I said,
You don't want leggy watermelons
exactly
whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, but I was very excited. He said he's going to trade me some artichoke. He's very good at planting artichoke from seed.
Okay.
So I was like, that would be cool to have at the community garden.
Yeah, it would. Meg, since the last time we did a podcast, we got this was, I guess technically we got this, didn't buy these lots yet.
Yeah.
Because it takes a couple of weeks.
Okay.
But we got this was given approval to buy these lots, which is super exciting.
Yeah.
Because, as you sort of build these things out, you go from a small investment of a couple of planter boxes to 100 planter boxes, which is, can add up. And so it's exciting. Yeah. So we got this is going to be in the next few weeks or very near future, purchasing some of the lots that the organization has been gardening on for the last 3 years. Yeah. 3 seasons worth. But really exciting to be able to get those spaces sort of in the We Got This umbrella, and then, be able to put, maybe a fence along the back.
And I think a fence would be really nice. We're going to get into this a little bit more, but there are a lot of people that dump their stuff. There's a lot of dumping that happens over in that area. So I was even talking with Jan, the tree lady, about trees and fruit trees and stuff today, but I was telling her about these lots, and I said, if you have any suggestions for vertical growing, if we have a fence there, and she got real excited, and so we started talking about cucumbers, or
that's stuff that grows up a fence.
Correct. It grows vertically up. yes. So that's just another opportunity that hopefully we can just produce more more stuff, so people can have free produce, which is it's just great. A lot of the neighbors have come to, a lot of the neighbors have communicated to me that they would like to be more invested in We Got This, just with growing, with getting access to the food, which is just awesome. So I am very excited for the growing season to start. Yeah.
It's interesting. So that set of lots is just a few houses down from the new house. Yeah. I think we call it the garden house now.
I love it. Yeah.
I think we call it that because it's right by those gardens.
It is.
And it's right next to another garden that is mostly flowers. Mostly flowers. Right by that, right by that area. But that house in particular has been empty for a very long time. I walked back through it for the first time again over the weekend.
Okay.
My dad and I walked through it.
Wasn't there some sort of dead animal in the
A
basement?
dead raccoon, yeah,
still
in
there.
the basement.
Okay.
I'm going to be the one to get rid of it,
Sure.
so it's still there. Nobody broke in. Nobody broke in to take the dead raccoon.
No, that's too bad.
Out of the basement.
I don't know if you remember, there was a dead raccoon, and it was on Burleigh, and when we did trash pickup, like it was at least 2 years ago. When we did trash pickup, like we would see the dead raccoon, and we would, like, over the weeks we would see it decompose, and it was just a really funny, a lot of times I'd elbow a 14-year-old boy and be like, look at that, and they'd be like, awesome, they'd go try to pick it up with their trash picker, and I'm like, no, just leave it. So lots of raccoons in this area.
Yeah, and they die in places, apparently. I mean, I suppose raccoons everywhere die at some point.
Yeah.
I don't think they all migrate here to die.
Yeah. Do you remember the first animal that Monty tried to kill?
Oh, I don't know.
It was a raccoon.
Oh,
it was when we first got her. She didn't know she could go on the little jungle gym thing. Okay. And there was a raccoon at the top. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I just brought this dog home, and now is she gonna get killed? I didn't know she would have taken the
yeah,
raccoon.
true. You didn't know her her fighting ability yet.
I didn't. Yes.
or her hunting skills.
Yes.
But when we were walking down there, I was reminded of how, the work that we've done on this half of our block, 8th and 9th Street, shares an alley. I was reminded of, how you never know. You never know. Okay, well, what the things that you do, what are the impacts?
Yeah.
I don't know that you're always aware or are even allowed to be aware of what your impact is. But one thing that I notice is that the half of the alley where we own buildings is a lot cleaner than the half of the alley where this new house is.
Well, and that's something that I would love to get in with you, talk more to you about, because so many people have asked. I tell them, we were able to buy this house down the street, and they're kind of like, what's one of the first things you're going to do? And I say, like, well, dumping's a huge problem.
Yeah.
This 3-lot area we've called it the dump before, because there's been boats, there's been cars, there's been,
anything that can be dumped has been dumped.
Yeah, so many piles of construction debris. And so people are like, well, why do people dump there? And, so I told them, like, there is, they can go to the city dump is 15 minutes away.
Yeah, probably.
And you have to pay $25 to...
It's $20.
$20.
It depends on the size of the load that you have.
Okay. But so instead of going the 15 miles or 15 minutes away and paying the $20, they think it's just easier to come and dump.
Well, it is easier.
It is easier. It is. And I think it's just like, it's very, in Middleton, no one dumped stuff on my lawn ever. It's very odd that people do that. Like, a lot of my friends are like, well, why are people doing that? And I'm like, because it's easier. So I've just been thinking about it a lot. And it really just, to me, it just is like one more thing of this neighborhood doesn't have value. And it's just one more way of people saying, the people here and the neighborhood here it's not worth anything.
Yeah, I think that there will probably always be people that are doing. I see a lot of construction debris, so I'm familiar with construction debris. Yeah. I'm very familiar with the dump. I go there all the time.
Yeah.
Probably twice a week on average.
Did you go this morning, or was it
yesterday? We didn't go this morning. It's closed on Mondays.
Oh, okay.
But we'll probably go tomorrow.
Okay.
Before we drop the kids off at school. And when you go there, there is a cost associated with it. It is only open. I'm not advocating for it to be open longer, although I would love that.
Yeah.
I would just like it.
Yeah.
But there's a cost associated with it. You do have to go there when it's open. It is sort of out of the way from our neighborhood. And I'm not suggesting that that we open up another dump, although again that would be great. But it does require extra work and thought to go and take your construction debris over to the dump.
Yeah.
And then it does, obviously the cost starting at $20. You can go, if you got a big trailer, it's $50.
Yeah.
A box truck I think is $90. So, you can save time and money by dumping this stuff in a place that looks like it already is abandoned and run down.
Yeah.
And then, if you live next to a place that looks abandoned and run down, then you're more likely to have somebody come in and dump on it. Which is why, when we started talking about this, and I was saying, well, our half, the half that we live on and the half that we own a fair number of buildings on, is typically not dumped on. Very rarely. In fact, when you are in the alley and you look towards our house, or our big garage is right there, and I've never had anybody. People have dumped stolen cars before, but that's a little bit different. They just get out and run away. Yeah. And it's sitting right there. But it is easier and it is cheaper, and there really isn't. The only way that you catch somebody doing it is by physically being there, watching them, and taking a picture of them doing it. And then, if you were going to,
because you can, I mean, I've taken videos of people,
sure.
And you can submit that to you can submit it to the city, and you can get like a reward for it. But most of the time when I see people, they don't have like license plates.
Sure. Yeah.
So then I'm like, well, this isn't.
Yeah. And so, I mean, to me, it's okay. Well, the dynamics exist that make doing this, palatable or plausible for somebody. I mean, there's plenty of times where I thought, oh, it'd be kind of nice just to dump my stuff on the pot. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
But
obviously,
you.
That would
but
be, yeah.
It's I understand the mentality of I don't really want to take all this stuff to the dump, but I also understand where you're coming from, where it says it's that this isn't much better than where I am taking.
Yeah.
And in fact, the dump is really nice. So, but this isn't much better than just a giant garbage dump for somebody. And the house that we just bought was dumped on so many times that it essentially eroded all of the equity in the building through fines that the owners were getting for this stuff not being cleaned up. Now, I'm there and I can clean it up, take it to the dump, or do whatever I need to do with it. And so I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, one of the first things that I'm going to want to do is put up some type of physical barrier or representation that this building is cared for, and that this isn't a place that you should dump.
Yeah.
Now, I know that means that it just gets bumped on somewhere else.
Yeah.
But there are enough places in our, very, very close proximity to our house that look run down and look like nobody lives there because nobody does. And those are prime places for people to dump. Yeah,
and I think it's an unfortunate thing living next to one of, where it gets dumped frequently. It's just a hard thing to... It's a hard thing to just have to live next to. I mean, I feel like we've said this on the podcast before. Nobody wants to live next to a dump. And so, I always think about like kids and how, like, what kids are thinking about where they live and how they value themselves because of the spaces they live and the ways that places are taken care of. And I just feel like it's one more time that, the people in our neighborhood are just shown that people outside of our neighborhood don't give a shit. And that just sucks. Like, it sucks that's a constant reminder, and I'm walking through the alley and I see that, and you see something that somebody clearly, someone did that this weekend.
Sure.
Well, that, it's just one more way of just one more annoyance of living here, and one more way that, I just don't think it's right for anyone to think that they're not valued.
Yeah, it's not a great situation if you're a homeowner and you live next to a place.
Yeah.
We don't live directly next to a place that gets dumped on a lot. But, I mean, it would be really frustrating, especially if you were older because
you have to take care of it.
Right.
Like
yeah,
that.
So, so if, like, let's say somebody did dump a bunch of construction debris behind our garage, it's not like, or at a different building.
Yeah.
It's not like I can just let it sit there.
Yeah.
And it's not like
it's your responsibility.
Sure, right. The responsibility then falls on the property owner to go and clean it up, which is why the people that had owned the building before us had so many fines because they were out of town.
Yeah.
They would I don't know if they would get a notice about the things being dumped there. And then after, it's not a long time, if an inspector drives by and flags you for having debris in your yard, you've only got, I want to say it's less than 48 hours to clean it up. So, if you're not particularly mobile or you don't have a truck to haul everything, that's a huge, huge problem for you. Yeah,
because there was one time that there was like a mattress or something that somebody dumped on one of our properties, and we got we got the letter, and it was like, okay, go do that immediately.
Yeah. So not great, but Meg, I liked what you were saying about some of the subconscious, conscious, but like sort of some of the subconscious ramifications of living in an area that it's dumped on regularly. We talk in the book Bad Neighborhoods about neighborhood self-esteem.
Yeah.
And when I think about our neighborhood our neighborhood's great, and that's part of what the book says.
Yeah.
That the neighborhood is great.
Yeah,
and
it's actually not a bad neighborhood.
Right. that's the secret. But it is sometimes hard to remember that when you drive down the alley and you see that, and or you're a kid and you're walking to the bus and you've got to climb over this pile of stuff that was dumped right next to you. I know it's defeating for the kids a lot of times that we got this when they are cleaning up the neighborhood and then they see a giant pile of stuff.
Yeah.
It's not ideal for sure. But yeah, it can definitely have an impact on the way that you view your physical spaces as a young person and as an adult.
Well, and I think another thing that's interesting is we talked a lot about how like the community has to report these types of things,
Sure.
like for when the lights go out. The lights go out. They were out this last few days, and I feel like that's something like I don't think to call it in except for like at night, and then I'm driving home and I don't want to, and I feel like it's a similar situation where I'll be walking Monty somewhere and I'll see a big pile of stuff, and then I'm like, oh, I should call that in, but then you have to like take a picture, and it's a process to do all this, and so I feel like it's just one more way that a community that doesn't have all the resources and doesn't have all the margins has to make their community better. And again, I'm fine with calling this stuff in, but I don't think it's fair for a community that doesn't have margin and resources to be in charge of making sure that their neighborhood isn't dumped on.
Yeah, because when you mentioned the streetlights, it was making me think about how whatever the current setup and system is for that.
Yeah.
Well, first off, there isn't somebody that's responsible for keeping the streetlights on. I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, but that's not somebody's job. There's somebody's job to, when they are notified, to send to dispatch a team of people to go fix the lights. Their job isn't to make sure the streetlights are on.
Yeah.
And it's similar to with the dumping. At We Got This, we say, well, we as an organization are going to take on the responsibility of keeping the neighborhood clean, and we have systems and procedures to go to do that. But when I think about dumping, because I remember there was, and anytime we talk about this stuff, like I don't have any ill feelings towards anybody or anybody that really does anything. I just kind of like to point out, well, what's working and what's not working.
Yeah.
And so clearly in our neighborhood, however we have things organized, whatever our systems and our structures are, it doesn't lead to an outcome where land isn't dumped on, because it happens all the time. And, it's a pretty regular occurrence. We've owned that house for 14 days and it's been dumped on once already.
Yeah.
So it's going to continue to happen. And unless there is a drastic intervention, I don't see it necessarily changing at all. But I think it's important for people to know, like, there's a place, if you live on the east side of Milwaukee, there's a place within 4 miles of where you live that is treated like a garbage dump. And you don't have to think about that in your spaces, or when it does happen, it's like outrageously out of the ordinary. And it's commonplace here. Yeah. And I'm a big believer in, for whatever reason, whether it was just how I was raised or things I was into when I was 20 years old, or however you're shaped as a human being, I think that we are supposed to give a better than expected outcome, or a better than expected set of life circumstances for the poor. And the fact that the dumping happens in a poor neighborhood really bothers me. It really bothers me because I think that, whatever your income is or whatever your net worth is, that shouldn't preclude you from having some of these really basic things, like the ability to live in a clean neighborhood, or to live in an area that has street lights come on, something that would be expected everywhere else. Just because you live in a low income or an area that's plagued with the problems that are associated with concentrations of poverty, I don't think that you should have to deal with that. And right now, the way that we are currently organized, we do.
Yeah, yeah. And it just makes me think of the quote, and I was just trying to find it, but it was in the Journal Sentinel, just talking all about a clean neighborhood is a luxury and how a clean neighborhood is a safer neighborhood. And, when a neighborhood isn't dumped on, and when a neighborhood doesn't have garbage everywhere, it's actually safer and it has better outcomes.
Yeah.
And I think about we just walked outside right now and there's so much garbage. And
and I know when we were walking over here and we were going to talk about this, I wasn't even thinking about just the fact that there's just trash everywhere.
Yeah.
We're talking about very specifically people taking trailers full of stuff, sometimes, a lot of times pickup trucks full of stuff, sometimes dump trucks full of stuff, and just dumping it all, giant piles. More than I can even. I'm very good at packing the truck to get as much as possible to go to the dump because I want to get as much out of my $20 as possible. But more than that even. And so we're talking about multiple cubic yards full of trash that are just dumped and discarded on someone's property.
And then that trash gets blown all around. And the construction debris not as much, but I mean, I still do think about what if it's lead paint? I feel like there's just all these different factors that I'm thinking okay, this is good for the soil. Is this good? Whatever.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. I just feel like, there's a lot going on there. But yeah, so we live off 8th Street and the whole 8th Street is just filled with, there's so much garbage and no one just dumped a bucket of trash out their window or something. I
didn't do that.
A lot of times it's from all the people dumping and the trash just gets blown around and now I have trash all over my front yard, which is annoying. I need to go clean it up. Okay. This is a good call to action for me.
That'll be all right. I do want to say, if you're an individual that you think to yourself, obviously if you listen to this podcast, it's because you care about some of the things that we talk about. And, I'm a big advocate in, if you have the impetus inside your head to say that I care about this thing, is your body or brain or whatever you believe in, it's telling you to care about it. And then it's asking, once you do care, there's always a follow-up. And that follow-up a lot of times has some a component of action involved.
Yeah.
And it can be really challenging because if you don't live in an area of concentrated poverty, you may not have some of the access points that would allow you to take that impetus to care and turn it into action.
I have a great action point if you wanted me to go there. So we got this community garden. I feel like we've talked about it a lot through this. And if you are not familiar with the We Got This community garden, it is a wonderful garden over on 9th and Ring in Milwaukee. And it's been around for 14 years. Kids come through the summer and they clean up. They get paid a little bit to beautify their neighborhood. And in April and May, there will be work days. And if you would like to come, you can clean up, you can plant stuff, you can get the garden beds ready. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for volunteers. So if you would like to volunteer, there is a sign up on the website, wegotThisMKE.com. If you go into the volunteer tab, you'll see that you can add yourself to the email list and then sign up for what you want. So that is a neat opportunity for people if you are in Milwaukee and want to volunteer.
That's great. And then the book Bad Neighborhoods, I got a very small number of printed copies of the book Bad Neighborhoods because I thought to myself, there's probably something that I missed in submitting the manuscript or the PDF that it had. And then immediately my niece told me there's no page numbers.
Oh my gosh. I love that she saw that.
And I was like, yeah, you're right. That's a pretty common thing in a book. So I'll have to figure out how to do
funny.
But if for whatever reason, if you would like a copy of the book,
and it would be great. Maybe if you're if you're an English major or something in communications, you can maybe give it a good read. That would be great.
Give me a proofread and tell me everything I screwed up on. But you can. So this is pretty cool. So Amazon will allow you to submit manuscripts and book jackets and turn it into a printed copy of a book.
Very cool.
And so you can, if you Google or you go on Amazon and you search bad neighborhoods, and maybe throw in my name, Alex Bruzan is my last name. It'll pop up, and you can if you want to, no pressure, but you can grab a copy of that. Otherwise, you can always listen to it for free on the Bad Neighborhoods podcast feed.
Yeah. Well, I think those are our 2 plugs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we got it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.